We did it. We did it. We really, really did it. We are officially on Chapter 10, Lesson 4. This, my friends, is the last lesson of the year. Woo hoo. We made it. So, in our math books, we're on page 460. Chapter 10, Lesson 4's I can statement is going to say, I can construct and analyze a box and whisker plot. So, ending on an interesting concept here. I can construct and analyze a box and whisker plot. So today is another new / interesting type of graph. A box and whisker plot is a different type of way that we can show data. So on the top of 460 in the key idea section, it says a box and whisker plot represents a data set along a number line by using the least value, the greatest value, and the quartiles of the data. A box and whisker plot shows the variability of a data set. So a box and whisker plot is not really that useful for knowing specific numbers that ended up happening in our data. It's more just to kind of take a general overview of the numbers of the graph and just kind of say, oh, it's kind of over here, or it's more over there. It's more of a general way of looking at data. So we're going to say box and whisker plot. And it gives an overview. So gives an overview of data. So it doesn't really give specific details about every single number on our list. So it gives an example there. So we're going to draw a number line with some tick marks just so that we can kind of say, okay, this is what a number line typically looks like, right? Now, we're not going to put numbers on these right now. When we make a real one, we would, but we're going to make a dot here, and then we're going to have that dot connect to a line and a dot here. And then we're going to have this kind of end up being a box. Let's make the box look like that. We'll have another dot here, and then let's make another line here with a dot, and then let's have it go out to here. So this is our box and whiskers. You see how it's a box and whisker plot? We've got a whisker here and a whisker there. You've got a box in the middle. Not every single box and whisker plot looks exactly like this, but this is one way they can look. So we need 5 special numbers. Do you see how there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different dots or values here that we have dots on? Those are 5 special numbers that we need to have in order to make a box and whisker plot. So I'm going to list them here. One of our numbers, that would be this one right here, is going to be the lowest data value. Another way of saying that is the minimum. Okay, so the lowest is called the minimum. Our next one right here, this little dot right there, that dot is going to represent our first quartile. And I taught you how to find the quartiles in a previous lesson in chapter 9, but we'll review that today. The next dot over, this one here is going to be the median because that's right in the middle from the upper one and the lower one. So the next dot down we're going to call the median, and you also know how to find the median from a previous lesson in chapter 9. The next dot here is our third quartile. And the last dot is going to be our highest number on our list. And another way of saying the highest is the maximum on the list. So if I have a list of numbers, I can find all 5 of these and I can make a box and whisker plot with it. So that is what we're going to do next. All of these numbers, by the way, these 5 special numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we call those the 5 number summary. So if a question ever asks you to find the 5 number summary, those are the special 5 that you are going to find. Now that we know what a box and whisker plot looks like and what the 5-number summary looks like, what those are, we're going to practice making one. So let's get to example 1. In our book, you can see that example 1, here's what we just talked about here in the key idea box. And example 1 has a list of numbers, and it says, make a box and whisker plot for the ages and years of the spider monkeys at the zoo. Here are our list of ages at the zoo, and we're going to jot those down in our notes and make a box and whisker plot. So our ages are, and you know what? Let's go ahead and just rewrite these in order, so that way we don't have to do it twice. So I'm going to take them and put them in order for you. So let's start with a 14, then a 15, 20, 26, 27, 30. We have another 30 and another 30, then a 33, 35, 36, and a 38. So you're welcome for ordering them for you. If I hadn't ordered them for you, that would be step 1. We always have to order our numbers from lowest to highest if we want to find those 5 special numbers. So the first number we need to find is the lowest. Okay, well, that's easy. The lowest is 14. Done. Okay, easy. The next one is our quartile. So if we look at our little 5-number summary list, our first quartile. Well, it's going to be kind of hard to find that one if we don't know where our median is. So let's go to our highest instead. Our highest is 38. So if we put little dots for each of our 5 numbers that we're going to find, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we know that our highest or our maximum is going to be 38. So we have a 14 for our lowest, 38 for our highest. Now let's do the middle one, our median. So if I cross off 14, 38, 15, 36, 20, 35. This one and this one would pair up. That one and that one would pair up. My median would be right in between those two. And lucky for me, they're both the same number. So I can say my median would be 30 in this case. Now, if I want to find my first quartile or my lower middle, I got to figure out what's in between here and here. So if I look in the middle between this center and the 14, I would end up right in between here. Because if I cross off the 14 and the 30, and the 15 and the 27, I'm left right in the middle of here. So I have to figure out what is in the middle between 20 and 26. Well, that would be 23. So my first quartile would be 23. Now I'm going to do the same thing up here to find my third quartile. So I would cross off the 30 and the 38. 30, 36. I'm left right in between here. So I need to figure out what's in the middle between 33 and 35. And that would be 34. So my third quartile would be 34. So now I know my 5 special numbers. So here's how we're going to make our box and whisker plot. We're going to make it look like this. And those 5 special numbers are going to be underneath our number line. So we're going to make a number line and number it in order. So here's our number line. And we're going to make tick marks for our number line. Now here is where a lot of kids go wrong. They just decide, I'm going to put these 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. But you can't do that on a number line. You have to pick a scale. So maybe go by 2s or 5s or something where you could get from 14 all the way up to 38. So if I went from 14 to 38 by 2s, I might be able to get there here. So maybe we go 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. I need to get all the way to 38. It's going to be close. 32, 34, 36, 38. We did it. So we could go by 2s and keep it consistent down here and still get from 14 to 38. So now what we'll do is make a dot above the 14. We call that a floating dot. And then we'll make a dot above the 23. Here's 22, here's 24. So 23 would be right in the middle. Then we make a dot for the 30. And then we'll make a dot for the 34. And we make a dot for the 38. I want you to notice that the dots are not evenly spaced, right? There's some bigger spaces and some smaller spaces. That is okay. It doesn't have to be symmetric. So the middle 3 dots, we're going to make a box around those. So we're going to draw a line here and a line here. You can go through your dots, and we'll do a line down the middle as well. So there's our box. It goes around the middle 3, and then we have a whisker going out to this one, and we have a whisker coming out to that one. There's my box and whisker plot. And kind of going back to our original question, what were these numbers talking about? These ones were ages. So I'm going to put ages of monkeys. And these are ages down here. That's what we were actually talking about. So we just created our box and whisker plot. If you'd like to practice that process, which is kind of a lengthy process, another time you can pause and look at the bottom of page 460 and try to make a box and whisker plot of those groups of friends and how many hours they spent online last night. Go ahead and pause and try if you'd like. If you tried number 1 on your own, the first dot should be at the 0. The next dot would be at the 1. Then the next dot would be at the 2. The next dot would be at the 3. And the final dot would be at the 6. You'd have a box going from the 1 all the way around to the 3. And then you'd have whiskers going out to the 0 and the 6. Okay, example 2 is just going to ask us to kind of analyze or look at a box and whisker plot, so not as lengthy, thank goodness. So if we get to example 2, I'll show you in the book what it looks like. Hopefully we won't have to draw much on this one. Here's example 2. It says analyze a box and whisker plot. So if we take a look at this one, it says the box and whisker plot shows the body mass index of 6th grade class. So BMI talks about your body fat or body mass. So here's where we're at. We have some dots here. We have 17, 19, 21, 22, and 28. I want you to remember that on a box and whisker plot, it kind of tells us over here. Between these 2 dots, there is 1/4 of the numbers between there. There is 1/4 here, 1/4 here, and 1/4 here. Even though this side looks bigger than this side, there's still 1/4 of your data sitting there. And we know that because we found the middle each time. So when using that information, it says what fraction of the students have a BMI of at least 22? So 22 or higher. So remember that this is 1/4 of the data. So if I'm asked what fraction of the students are here, we're going to say 1/4. So in our notes, we will draw a sketch of this box and whisker plot. And we can have a dot here, 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 and here. And here's our box. And this would be our whiskers. This is 1/4 of the data. From here to here would be 1/4 and 1/4, so that's a half of the data, 1/4 and 1/4. This last little section would also be 1/4. So from here to here, each section, we're going to say over here, each section is 1/4 of the data. So really, each of these pieces is 1/4. So when we're talking about how many students are 22 and higher, we would say 1/4 would be 22 and higher. Looking back at question B, are the data more spread out below the first quartile or above the third quartile? Here, it looks like there's lots more numbers in a smaller space, and here there's lots of numbers in a spread out space. So it looks like these are close together and these are spread out. And then lastly, find and interpret the interquartile range. So interquartile range is the IQR. That would be the third quartile minus the first quartile. So if we found that, we would just take 22 and subtract 19, which would give us 1, 2, 3. So there's only 3 numbers difference inside that box. We're really not going to write much of that down. We're just going to take a quick look at this one. These are key ideas of shapes of box and whisker plots. Remember, we want to look for a tail. So this box and whisker plot, would we call that skewed to the left because you can see the tail is longer on the left? That whisker is longer. This would be a symmetric box and whisker plot because the tails are the same. And this would be skewed to the right because the tail is on the right-hand side. So those are our 3 different skewed versus symmetric graphs. And then lastly, example 3, we're just comparing these two, store A and store B. Identify the shape of each distribution. Look at store A, looks pretty equal to me. So I would say symmetric, but look at store B. This one has a nice tail here, so I would say skewed to the right on that one. And then which store's prices are more spread out? So this one goes from $4.50 to $1.50. This one goes from $2.50 to $6.50. And notice how the box here is a little bit bigger than the box here. So I would say store B is a little bit more spread out. So that's kind of our lesson today. I know we didn't write down a ton from example 2 and 3. If you want to pick a couple of things that we talked about to write down, you're more than welcome to do that. But lots more just to look at and analyze on these than there really is to write down. So looking at the book was probably an important thing for us. If you'd like to pause and try the on your own at the bottom of 461, go ahead and try that one. Okay, if you tried number 2 on your own, 2A should be about 3/4 or 0.75 or 75% of the data. 2B, you would say neither. The data are evenly spread out below and above the median. And then question C, you would say 80. The middle half of the heights varies by no more than 80 feet. And that is going to bring us to the very end of our lesson.